What if rising gas prices across the United States were not a market accident? What if they were not driven by global supply disruptions? What if they were the result of a calculated strategic response by Canada? Because new analysis suggests that as Donald Trump escalated economic pressure on Ottawa, Mark Carney quietly deployed one of the most powerful tools in Canada's arsenal: energy exports. And now American consumers are paying the price. Literally, gas prices have surged to levels not seen in years. Refineries are scrambling, and Trump's political base is feeling the squeeze. This is no longer just a trade dispute. This is economic leverage being used with precision. Let's establish the facts. Canada is the largest supplier of crude oil to the United States. It provides nearly 4 million barrels per day. That represents roughly half of all U.S. crude oil imports. American refineries, particularly in the Midwest and along the Gulf Coast, are structurally dependent on Canadian heavy crude. They were designed to process it. They cannot easily substitute it with lighter domestic shale oil without costly modifications. The machinery itself was built for heavier grades. The chemical processes were optimized for Canadian crude. Converting these facilities would require billions in capital investment and years of downtime. That dependence is not rhetorical. It is operational. It is measurable, and it creates vulnerability. This is not a weakness that can be corrected with policy statements or executive orders. This is infrastructure reality built over decades. For months, Donald Trump imposed tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum. He threatened trade restrictions. He used inflammatory rhetoric. He framed Canada as an economic adversary. His strategy relied on the assumption that Canada would absorb the pressure without retaliation. That assumption was wrong, because while Trump escalated publicly, Canada responded strategically, not with matching tariffs, not with dramatic announcements, but with energy policy adjustments that directly impacted American fuel costs. Reports now indicate that Canadian energy exports to the United States have been strategically recalibrated. Export volumes have not collapsed, but pricing mechanisms, refinery allocations, and contract renewals have shifted in ways that favor Canadian interests. The result is predictable. American refineries face tighter margins. Fuel distributors face higher costs, and those costs are passed directly to consumers at the pump. Gas prices in key swing states have risen sharply. In Michigan, prices jumped by over 15% in recent weeks. In Pennsylvania, similar increases. In Wisconsin, the same pattern. These are not random fluctuations. These are the states that delivered Trump his presidency, and now voters in those states are paying more to fill their tanks. The impact is immediate and visible. A family commuting to work now spends an additional $50 to $70 per month on fuel. Small businesses dependent on transportation face margin compression. Delivery costs rise. Consumer spending tightens. This is economic pressure applied precisely where political vulnerability is highest. The timing is not coincidental. Trump's tariff campaign against Canada peaked in late summer. By early fall, Canadian energy policy adjustments began appearing in refinery data. By winter, gas prices were climbing. The sequence is clear. Trump applied economic pressure. Canada responded with energy leverage. American consumers absorbed the cost. This is not speculation. This is cause and effect documented in market data. Energy economists have noted the shift. Independent analysts confirm that Canadian crude pricing to U.S. buyers has become less favorable. Contract terms have tightened. Long-term supply agreements are being renegotiated with stricter conditions. Canada is not cutting off supply. It is making that supply more expensive and less predictable. The effect is the same. Higher costs for American refineries. Higher prices for American drivers. And political damage for Donald Trump. Research from energy consulting firms shows that refinery margins in the Midwest have compressed by 12 to 15% since Canadian pricing adjustments began. These are not abstract numbers. They represent real operational costs that cascade through the entire fuel distribution network. Trump built his political brand on economic nationalism. He promised to make America energy dominant. He claimed his policies would lower costs for working families. Yet his trade war with Canada has produced the opposite result. Gas prices are rising, energy security is weakening, and the voters who supported him most strongly are feeling the consequences directly. This is not abstract policy failure. This is tangible economic pain in swing districts that determine elections. The contradiction is stark. Trump campaigned on ending American dependence on foreign energy. He promised to unleash domestic production. Yet by antagonizing the largest oil supplier to the United States, he achieved the opposite. American refineries became more vulnerable. Energy costs increased, and working families paid more at the pump. Mark Carney did not announce this strategy. He did not hold press conferences. He did not threaten retaliation. Instead, he allowed Canadian energy policy to speak through market outcomes. While Trump relied on public threats, Carney used institutional tools. While Trump escalated rhetoric, Carney adjusted export frameworks. While Trump demanded submission, Carney demonstrated leverage. The contrast is deliberate. One leader operates through noise. The other operates through structure. Republican lawmakers in energy-dependent states are now facing constituent pressure. Voters are asking why gas prices are rising despite promises of energy dominance. Business leaders are questioning the wisdom of alienating Canada, the single largest energy supplier to the United States. Even conservative commentators are acknowledging that economic isolation has costs. This is not partisan criticism. This is market reality intersecting with political promises. In town halls across swing states, Republican representatives face a question they cannot easily answer. How does attacking Canada serve American interests when it raises costs for American families? Trump attempted to treat Canada as a subordinate trading partner. He assumed leverage was one-directional. He believed threats would produce compliance. Instead, Canada demonstrated that interdependence creates mutual vulnerability, and when one side overplays its hand, the other side can respond without escalation. Carney did not match Trump's aggression. He did not need to. He simply allowed economic structure to apply pressure where it matters most. At the gas pump, in swing states, among Trump's own voters. The political implications are significant. Rising gas prices erode public approval faster than almost any other economic indicator. Voters tolerate abstract trade disputes. They do not tolerate paying more to commute to work. They do not tolerate higher costs for daily necessities. And when those costs are linked directly to a president's trade policies, the political damage is immediate. Trump's approval ratings have declined in key Midwest states. Polling shows rising concern about affordability, and gas prices are a central factor. In Michigan and Pennsylvania, approval ratings dropped by 6 to 8 points in recent months. Independent voters registered the sharpest decline. These voters decide close elections. This episode exposes a fundamental miscalculation in Trump's approach. He treated trade policy as a tool of dominance rather than negotiation. He assumed Canada lacked the capacity to respond effectively. He underestimated the strategic value of energy interdependence. Each of those assumptions has now been disproven. Canada did not collapse under pressure. It responded with precision, and the costs are being borne by American consumers. The pattern is consistent. Aggressive opening moves, public threats, assumptions of leverage. Then reality intervenes. Mark Carney's strategy worked because it was patient. He did not react emotionally. He did not escalate publicly. He allowed Trump to create the conditions for his own political vulnerability. And when gas prices rose, Carney did not claim credit. He did not need to. The market data told the story. The political consequences unfolded naturally, and Trump was left defending a policy that hurt his own base. This approach demonstrates a fundamental understanding of strategic power. Carney recognized that in modern trade conflicts, the side that appears reactive loses credibility. The side that remains composed controls the narrative. By allowing energy policy to operate through market mechanisms rather than political announcements, Canada avoided the appearance of aggression while still applying effective pressure. Trump could not accuse Canada of retaliation without admitting his own policies created the conditions for it. He was trapped by his own framing. Energy policy is now a leverage point in U.S.-Canada relations, and that leverage belongs to Canada. American refineries cannot restructure overnight. Domestic shale production cannot replace Canadian heavy crude without significant investment. Alternative suppliers do not exist at comparable scale. Canada knows this. Carney knows this. And Trump is learning it. This is not temporary leverage. This is structural advantage. Reducing dependence on Canadian oil would require years. New pipelines need regulatory approval. Refineries require costly modifications. Donald Trump promised to make America stronger through confrontation. Instead, he exposed American vulnerabilities. He promised to protect working families. Instead, he contributed to rising costs. He promised to dominate trade negotiations. Instead, he was outmaneuvered by a quieter, more disciplined counterpart. This is not strength. This is strategic failure. Canada weaponized oil exports. The United States is paying the price, and Mark Carney demonstrated that leverage does not require volume. It requires timing, precision, and patience. If you value serious analysis that cuts through political theater and focuses on structural power dynamics, subscribe to Canada Today. We track who wins, who loses, and why. Because sometimes the real story is not the threat. It is the response. Thank you for watching.